So here we have any JavaFX application, any JavaFX program you are writing, that class extends from application class, because application class has what? It has got all these things, that is start, init, all those methodologies are available as part of application. Um, in order to override those methods, I extend my class with the application class. So application class has start or init method. Okay. So in order to override that start method, I extend the applications class. Fine. Now this start method takes one parameter which is called as stage parameter. Why do I require stage parameter? Why can't the start method take some other parameter? It's as simple as that. Until and unless you create a stage, you cannot put anything on JavaFX. You cannot put anything until unless the stage is created. Okay. So the area in which the components have to be placed, that area, if it is not fixed, there is no need of any other component at all. Okay. So that's why start always has stage object. Always has stage object. Okay. Somebody had asked me a question where I have created an object of stage. Okay, I think probably it is Varshini in the last class. So you can see here there is a creation of object of stage. This is primary stage. The name of the object is primary stage. Now, using this stage object, I will set the scene. Okay, use through this stage object, I will set the scene and I will make sure that this stage is visible. How do I make the stage visible? By calling the function show. You can just see these two are mandatory in any of the program that you take. Okay, these two are mandatory. Then using the object of stage, you can just draw a flowchart. Draw a flowchart for your simplicity. Okay, how? And on top of everything there is application. On top of everything there is application. Or on okay, on top of everything you can have launch. Then there is start method calling. That start method is available in application. Okay. Now inside this start method, start takes help of stage object. Once stage object is known, using that stage object, the scene that you are creating, that scene is set. Inside the stage, multiple scenes can be there. Okay. Then you have to make that particular stage visible. How do you make it? By making primary stage dot show, the object of stage dot show. These two lines are mandatory in any of the program that you have, because unless and until you set the scene or you add you show that particular stage, the components or the nodes which you are building inside that application, that will not be visible. Okay, I hope this is clear for you. So any program that you write in JavaFX has these things. Importing, obviously it will be there. Then you are creating the class by its name, extending application. Implements, all those things will come later, but this is the minimum thing that you are doing. Start method, you are overriding. Okay, just 1 minute. May I have a Bhimsen? Bhimsen? Bhimsen, you belong to third semester. I'm taking fifth semester class. Please exit. Okay. Now, so when the stage is created, that stage object, using that stage object, you are setting up the scene. Okay. Now, there is primary stage dot set title. This is optional. If you don't give, my title will not be visible. That's it. Okay. And inside the stage, what amount of stage you want to utilize. Okay. So you are giving a name to the scene, because in a single stage you can have multiple scenes. Multiple scenes. They can be called by different names. If you don't want any name, you can keep it null, not an issue. Okay, 200 by 250 is the height and width of the scene. Within that, all the other components have to sit. Okay, then this is a title. Using this object, you are attaching. I think I have explained enough about this example in the previous class. Setting the scene using the object of stage, and set scene expects that what scene you want to set on the stage. the object of the scene that you want to set, that you are passing. Okay, this is an object of this. So it is very simple. You're creating a stage, you're creating a scene. Okay, scene may have n number of components, and components in JavaFX are called as nodes. Please listen to it very carefully. Components in JavaFX is called as node. Okay, all set of nodes, once it is attached to the scene. How do I attach components or nodes to the scene? By add. Option called add. What is the function to add the components to the scene? Add. Okay, that I have not done in this program. I am not done in this program because there is only one component available. What is that? Button. If you have multiple components, all those have to be attached to the scene. That scene getting attached to the stage. This is how the flow goes for any program. Create a stage, create a scene. Scene has subparts in it. What are those called? They are called as components or nodes. Nodes in JavaFX. Okay. Those nodes have to be added to the scene. You're creating the nodes. They are independent. The components are independent, but they have to be added to the scene. That scene is set to the stage. This is how the overall programming goes. Okay. I believe that you understand this. I believe that. Now, this part dot show, it is for the displaying of the stage on which the scene is attached, which the scene in turn contains multiple components. So from where the execution begins? From launch. Okay, I believe that you have understood this. Okay, this example I will not take right now. Let me go ahead with next. So these are the different components in JavaFX. So when you take up very important things, I will go ahead. Okay, in this, I'm so sorry, I will just do slideshow. Okay, in this whole thing, what is important for me is the the scene, okay, the stage, then what I call as nodes. Nodes are available as part of pane. Look at this. We used to call it as panel. We used to call it as frame in AWT. The same things are called as panes or controls. Okay, panes or controls. What are these panes or controls available? Just have a look at this. Pane has FlowPane. I think I have discussed about it in the previous class, but today I will go into deeper of this. I have something called FlowPane, GridPane. I have something called BorderPane. I have something called HBox. I have something called VBox, and I have something called as Stack. Okay, Stack pane. Just 1 minute. Let me allow the people. Okay. Now, along with all these things, there is something called as shape, which is part of node. Okay, which is part of node. Every node can be called as a shape or can be called as an image. There is something else also called as node can also act as pane. Node can also act as any of these panes. Okay, these shapes can be simple text field. Okay, there can be a single line, there can be a circle, there can be ellipse, there can be a rectangle, there can be a polygon. Okay, any kind of shape, all those things are allowed as part of a part of shape. Okay, and all these, they belong indirectly or directly to what is called as node. So what do I mean in general? I have three things as a whole in JavaFX. First is stage, second is scene, third, on a particular control or a pane, there is something called as node. Okay, so if with this background, you how do I arrange those nodes? Those arrangements can be done using any of these methodologies. We will go into the deeper version of all these things. Okay, I think FlowPane, GridPane, and BorderPane I have discussed before also, but I will repeat them. Okay, let's go ahead. See, you can just see there are multiple panes available, or I call them as layout panes. First pane is called as simple pane. I call this as absolute pane. Okay, P-A-N-E it is, not P-A-I-N. Yeah, absolute pane is P-A-N-E. What this pane has? It is the base class for all the layout panes. All other panes, no, they follow this pane class. Okay, it has a special function called as get children. Whenever I want to have multiple nodes getting attached to a pane. You just have to have a belief like this, only then you'll understand this. I have a stage, inside stage I have a scene, inside scene I have a pane, and that pane contains multiple components. The components are termed as nodes. I'll repeat. I have a bigger stage. In that bigger stage, I have a scene. Okay, multiple scenes can be there. I have a scene. Inside that scene, I will just tell that, okay, this is the border in which all the nodes have to sit. That is called as pane. Inside the scene, I have pane. This pane is not always mandatory. Not always mandatory. If you don't want to use any pane, very well, go ahead. But the arrangement of nodes will not be the way in which I want. The way in which I want. They will be jumbled like anything. According to the available space, the nodes will be inserted or the components will be inserted. If you want to have a proper look and feel of the whole of the web page, then you have to go for this pane because it is mainly for arrangement of children. When you are arranging those children, you have a special function called get children. You will see the usage of this in the programs. Okay. Then you have a special subclass of pane which is called as stack pane. What is this stack pane? Stack always believes that there is somebody sitting over somebody else. So you are growing the components in the incremental order, one upon the other. Always the latest one will be up. Okay. If you click the below component, that below component will become the top. Okay, there is something called as hovering of components, one above the other, stacking of components, but there will be definitely weaving of the bottom components, weaving of the bottom components. If you click on the bottommost component, that bottommost component will become the top. Okay, this kind of arrangement is called as stack pane. Have you seen any such condition wherein multiple pop-up windows are there and the pop-up windows are arranged in this manner? First window comes here, second window comes here, okay, over here, then third window comes here, fourth window comes here. When you see the stack of those windows, all those windows are visible in somewhat manner, like only borders I can see. Okay, and when I click on the last window, that last window pops up and becomes the first one. That kind of arrangement of components is called stack of components, and such a kind of arrangement can be done using what is called as stack pane. Always you can see the topmost node is the most recently used. Okay, and this kind of arrangement always it happens at the center of the scene. At the center of the scene, you will not see it anywhere else. You cannot make it align at left side or right side, top or bottom. You have to, whenever you use stack pane, it will happen at the center of the pane. Okay. Now, any doubt in this up to now? Any doubt up to now? Please, quickly. Any doubt up to now? Make it fast.
Ma'am.
No, right? Can I proceed ahead? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now you have something called as FlowPane. I think we have discussed about this previously also. There is something called as a flow layout in AWT also. We talk about arrangement of components from left to right, top to bottom. Any component that comes first, that will go and sit at the left corner, top left corner. Next component will come beside this. Next component will come beside the second one. But if the amount of space that is available is not enough, it will go to the next, bottom line. Okay, and the components are going on arranging in such a manner that even if I require slider, it will automatically it will give that slides. Okay, this is called flow pane arrangement. Here, row by row, horizontally or column wise, the column by column, the arrangement of things will happen. Third subclass called as GridPane. Here, this we will utilize most oftenly. Just imagine like this. I want to write, I want to create a web page or a login form in such a manner, registration form in such a manner that I want to have all labels on zeroth column. All labels means enter your name, enter password, re-enter password, enter your date of birth. All these labels must be in zeroth column. Related components like name requires text field, okay, password requires password field, date of birth requires date picker. So all those components, related components, must come in first column. This kind of arrangement or anything else that follows afterwards, that has to come in the next column. This kind of proper alignment of components can be very easily done in GridPane. See, when you come across HTML in your coding language, simple HTML program writing, when you start, there is something called as table option, table tag. That table talks about TR and TH, okay, TR and TD. The TR is table row. Every row must have components arrangement in the table description. Means in each row, this column must hold this column must hold this column must hold this. There is a proper distinction between each component. Okay, so you will know that there is proper alignment. It looks nice. In case of C program also, we'll do percentage 4s, percentage 4.2f. All those things are proper alignment. Okay, in such cases, grid pane helps me a lot. It is most oftenly used. Okay, then I have something called as BorderPane. This talks about, okay, I have 5 components or 5 set of components. The 5 set of components can be arranged in such a way that first set of component must be on the top of the scene, on top of the pane, okay, or scene, and the second set must be on the left hand side, third set on the right hand side, fourth set on the bottom. Remaining all components must be fitted in the center part. Okay, so you have 5 regions for the arrangement, that is called as border pane. All these things we have discussed already. Okay, then there is something called as HBox. This HBox is a special case of grid pane. It is a special case of grid pane, HBox as well as VBox. GridPane talks about multiple rows, multiple columns. But HBox and VBox talks about all your components must come in this row. In case of HBox, all your components must come in first column or second column. But beyond the limit of that column, you cannot place your components. So you are talking about single row, single column using what is called as HBox and VBox. This will help me when I am designing something like this. I have a big window available and I give this much of time, this much of space only for your components, only this much of. So what is this called? One particular column. Okay. Or I have a window, something like this, and I want only this much of the whole of the scene available has to be utilized for placing the components. Rest all is for my advertisement. If I have something like this, then HBox and VBox are useful. I hope these introductions are clear for you. Any doubt at this moment? Lot of things to tell. Any doubts at this moment? Make it fast. I have lot of things to tell. Any doubts at this moment? Yeah, Ankit? No doubts? Okay. We will proceed ahead. Whether you have understood the different layouts, you have different layouts. First, the base class of everybody is called pane. It has a special function which is called as get children. Right now we have not discussed about it. Then under this pane we have multiple subclasses. Stack pane, one above the other if you want to arrange. Okay. Flow pane, from left to right, top to bottom if you want to arrange. Grid pane, proper alignment, number of rows, number of columns if you have specified properly. Border pane, you talk about top, bottom, left, right and center, 5 regions if you want to utilize. HBox is for single row arrangement. VBox is for single column arrangement. HBox and VBox are special cases for grid pane. Okay, so after all this, just one minute. After all this, let us go ahead. Okay, how do I utilize this flow pane? Okay, flow pane has different properties or different parameters available. The parameters are alignment, orientation, H gap, V gap. H gap, V gap you can very well skip, because if you even don't give any gap, this H gap and V gap are for gap between the two components. Okay, even if you don't give, by default they will take some gap. Okay, so the borders of the components will be taken as the gap. Okay, by default the gap will be 0. Even you can afford to skip that, no problem at all. But these two are very important. One talks about alignment and the other talks about orientation. In the whole of the scene, from where you want to begin, you want to you if you don't give this, if you don't give this alignment, by default it will take left to right. This I have told before also. When you want to have a proper alignment, like I want to start from the center of my scene, okay, then you can give alignment as pose dot center. You can see here it is written as pose dot left, pose dot right, pose dot center. Three options are there. This holds good for all the variations that you have, all different layouts that are available. Alignment holds good like this. Then the second option is called orientation. This orientation talks about, okay, you want me to start the flow pane something like this. I want to go from left to right and then top to bottom, or let me start column wise. Top to bottom I will start. Then in that I will start from the leftmost to the rightmost. Column wise you want to go for, or row wise you want to go for. If you don't give, by default it will be left to right, top to bottom. Okay. H gap and V gap are for vertically how much you want to leave. You just believe like this. You have a window or a scene, something like this. You have a component, first component here. Second component, if you don't give any kind of H gap, this is horizontal gap. There is no gap between the two. Both the borders decide when what has started. And V gap talks about, I have filled with all the components over here. Okay, it has come to the next line. Over here, if I my next row's component has started over here, it means V gap is 0. There is no gap between column wise also, row wise also. If you want to specify some gap, you can give any amount that indicates the pixel value. Okay, this is how the flow pane works. These are the options available in case of any of the constructors of flow pane. Okay, alignment, orientation, they hold good for every pane that you take. Okay, let me continue. So you have something called as grid pane. Grid pane talks about alignment. You want to position it to the left, you want to position it to the right, you want to position it to the center. Okay, from the left that division will start. From the left that division will start. Okay, and the division will happen something like this. You just imagine there is a window like this. Okay, there is a window. When I give that, my first label or is, sorry, when I give my first label or is of 50 characters. Next line, in the next row, my second label is of, my second label is of 20 characters. Okay, and my third row's component has around 15 characters. Okay, so how this grid pane works? Out of all the components that I have given, which is having the highest amount of size requirement, that will be taken as the width. You are not specifying anywhere what is the width of my first column. Grid pane always talks about dividing the whole scene into multiple rows and multiple columns. Okay, this you know already. Now, this grid pane talks about division of these rows and columns with the input that it is getting. Suppose in the first column, first row, my element that I am giving is of 50 character length. Second row, the first column has a 15 character spacing. Okay, you among those which is having highest, the first, because 40 character spaces. Accordingly, the first column width will be specified. Accordingly, the first column width will be specified. Which is highest, that amount of character spacing will be given for all, rest all. So column width is decided by the highest length of the component. Column height is decided by height, vertical, okay. Column height is decided by the highest height of the component in that particular row. Highest height, width of the component in that particular column decides the width. Highest height of the component in that particular row decides the height. Okay, I hope I'm clear. Guys, I hope I'm clear. Any doubts? Yes, you're clear with the things? Okay, accordingly, I have GridPane constructor which has a function associated which is called as add function. Okay, whenever you are adding any particular node, look at this child node. Okay, this node is nothing but the component. What you are passing here, object of that component as the first parameter. Okay, second parameter talks about column index. See, you have a grid created. It is actually implicitly created. You are not created explicitly. Into which row, which column you want to specify. So always row and column index will begin from 0. Okay, we will definitely see all these examples in the next class coming ahead. Okay, now I will be talking about only these things. Now, when you have added, you want to know into which row, which column I can locate the current component. Using that particular object, if you call get column index, using that particular object, if you want to know into which column that is placed, if you want to change that, okay, all those things, all those options are available. But for now, you just think that in the grid pane, I have two things. One is grid pane constructor. Second, there is a function called add. That add function is used for adding the new component into the grid pane. Okay. When I go back, this flow pane was talking about, it was talking only about alignment and orientation. Here, since I'm talking about grid pane, grid wise arrangement, it has to specify into which row, which column I want to place this. This is how grid pane is different from flow pane. Flow pane requires alignment, orientation. Grid pane requires the object, into what column you want to specify, into which row you want to specify this particular object. Okay, this is the very important difference between grid pane and the flow pane. Flow pane doesn't bother about row index and column index. Reason, flows left to right or right to left. It is very simple in the flow pane. Okay, now we have something called as BorderPane. We have something called BorderPane. Here, when we are talking about set alignment, in the BorderPane there is a function called set alignment. Okay, when you try to remember, I'm so sorry, people are joining now. It's very okay. When when you start thinking about different panes that are available, in case of flow pane, what is important? Alignment, orientation. When you think about grid pane, you talk about column and the row. Okay, and there is a special function called add function. When you take a border pane, there is something called as alignment, set alignment. It talks about what component you want to add to what part. What component you want to add for what part. And if that part already contains one of the components. Imagine there is a window and it is filled like this. Okay, I have believed that my border pane looks like this. Top. bottom, left, right, center. If you want to add your object, this object may be the whole set of components. That whole set of components may contain a scene as a whole, may contain a pane as a whole. Okay, so if you just pass that whole scene, in this part, that whole scene may contain multiple subpanes. Okay, this is how we use BorderPane. But normally this is least utilized layout among all the layouts. Okay, now we have HBox. This talks about a single row arrangement. Single row arrangement. When you talk, you can have multiple HBoxes in the single scene. Okay, multiple HBoxes. Definitely, you have to have a spacing. HBox must have a spacing. Okay, that spacing talks about what? It talks about into after this particular row has ended. Next row, I will begin with one more HBox. Okay, so there has to be a gap between these two. If you don't give by default, it will be a 0. Borders decide the boundaries. Okay, and accordingly there is something called a set margin. Okay, there is a special thing available which is called as insets. There is a special thing. This insets is available as part of every pane. Every pane. What this talks about, when I take up my first example, I will go through this in my next class. Okay, please write it down somewhere. Insets, I will talk about it in my next class. Okay, next I have VBox. Definitely it will talk about the width, it will talk about the alignment. Okay, where you want to start with. When you want to start with the HBox, you must know where you want to start with. Do you want to start with from left to right, or you want to start with right to left? And when I take VBox, again, this will talk about, do you want to start the leftmost column or the rightmost column, where you want to start. And every column is of what width. Okay, it is of what width. That is decided by what is called as insets. The width is decided by the insets. Okay, anyways, we will look into that in the coming class. Now, I think these things we will take up tomorrow. Okay, font, the color, all these things we will take up tomorrow. When I take up font class, okay, font for now, I will just take up two very important things. We have something called as font weight. This talks about font weight. This talks about how much width every character is of. Then the size. This is talking about font size, 30, 40, whatever you give. The size is always in terms of double. Okay. The family talks about what is a family to which your font belongs to. Times New Roman. Okay. Bookman Old Style, Book Antica, all those things are the families. Right? So using all these all things I will skip. Okay, now I'll go to what is called as text. Shape has different things available: text, line, rectangle, circle, ellipse, as I discussed previously. I will take for now what is called as text, and I will take one more which is called as line, because using those things our programs are there. So what is this text talking about? In the whole of the window, where you want to place the text. So obviously, when I go back, just have a look at this diagram. When I go back from the center, there will be some x-axis, there will be some y-axis. Okay, this will hold good for any 3D shape. Okay, but when I take a normal text, something like this will be taking. What is that? I will believe that 0, 0 is the left top corner. Accordingly, the arrangement will be there. So I have to have x coordinate, y coordinate. Accordingly, the x and y coordinate, according to the x and y coordinate, the text will be placed. If I have given 200, 200, 200 from this in the x direction, 200 from this in the y direction, that point will from where the text starts printing. Okay, it is also called as a node. Text is also called as a node in JavaFX. Okay, first ever example that I have given is usage of text. There is something called as underline explicitly. If you give underline colon true, that text will be underlined by default. Okay, there is something called strike through. You want to strike through. If you want to have a text written and there is a strike through, then you make that as true. Strike through colon true, underline colon true. X and Y properties, if you don't give, by default it will start from 0 comma 0. Okay, by default the underline and strike through will be false. Then the font. What is the font that you have decided for the text to be printed? The family that you have to give. What is the font? Okay, so using all these, okay, I have given an example. This is an example of strike through. This is an example of strike through. This is an example where you have bolded. Okay, this is an example where you have placed at X and Y position. Okay, now the last part that I am discussing in this PPT is line. Okay, it talks about from where the X and Y coordinate of the starting point, X and Y coordinate of ending point. When you want to draw a line, that line must have start X, end X, start Y, end Y. Okay, any line will have start X, start Y, end X, end Y, because lines property it is. Okay, it talks about four coordinates: starting point of X, starting point of Y, ending point of X, ending point of Y. If you give that, accordingly the addition of the line will be taken place. Okay, from that starting point to the ending point, the line will be drawn. Okay, with the belief that you have understood this, I will continue. These all things I will not take now. Varun has a question. Let me take that question. It should be in the same order as mentioned. Definitely, it should be in the same order. First number that you are typing, that will be X coordinate. Okay, X coordinate. That X coordinate is the starting point's X coordinate. Second number that you give, that will be Y coordinate of the starting point. Third number that you give, that will be the X coordinate of the ending point. Fourth will be the Y coordinate of the ending point. It is in the same order. You just think like this: X comma Y comma X comma Y, x1 comma y1 comma x2 comma y2. You just remember that. Okay, simple straight line expression: x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. How do you write that? x1 comma y1 comma x2 comma y2. Same way. Okay, it should be same. I hope I have cleared your doubt, Varun. Yeah, thank you. So with this background, we will go for the programs. Okay, I believe that I have shared all the programs to you. Okay, whether it is visible, whether this is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Now you can just see I have divided these imports separately. Purposely I have done that. Purposely. Okay, I'll come back to this part afterwards. Now I will take these things. What all things I'm using in this? I'm using a text. Text is a label. Okay, label is called as a text. Text field. Text field indicates one simple rectangular box that takes in the data input. Okay, there is something called as password field. I have exactly 5 minutes left. You have to join back as soon as this ends, because I have to cover at least 3 to 4 examples today. Okay, there is something called as password field. This talks about what is a password, and the text field is different from password field because text field, text will be printed as it is when you type. Password field, dots will be printed when you type. There is something called GridPane, and I'm using button. What all I'm using, that I have written. Okay, what is that you are doing in this program? You are simply creating one login page. Login page contains what and all, we will see. Okay, we have the login page which talks about enter your email, enter your password, submit. Okay, something like this. If I want to create, then I will write explicitly all the import statements. JavaFX.scene. Yes, capital here. Okay, any component, please listen to it very carefully. Any component or the node or component always has uppercase letter. Any class, related class, is in lowercase letter. I will repeat. any component or object or a node, sorry, not object, any component or a node has a starting uppercase letter. So this is a component or a node. This is a class. Class will be always in lowercase letter. Accordingly, the whole of the things will be followed. Okay. Then scene.control. Why control is used here? Why control is not used here? Scene contains controlling UIs. Okay. UI, all UI components are part of control class. They are part of scene. All control components must be there inside the scene. Okay, there has to be controlling capacity of the components has to be inside the scene because scene contains all those control UIs. Okay, button, password field, grid pane, text field, all these are control UI components. Okay, and they are available as part of control. Which are those? Button, password field, text field. What about the other thing that is being displayed here? This is called GridPane. GridPane is cannot be a component. Can it be a component? It cannot be a component. When it is not a component, it is what kind? It is of layout kind. That's why it is available as part of layout. Then all these belong to scene. Under scene, you have either a control or a layout. Okay, control always has all these components. They are called as nodes. Layout has GridPane, HBox, VBox, FlowPane, BorderPane, all those things will be there. Okay, I believe that you have understood this. I believe that you have understood this. Then I have something called stage. This is again, stage is considered as a component. Okay, under the class stage. And any class that you create extends application. This we have seen before. Now you just see, I'm creating my first label. It is of type what? Text. Label is created like this and it will be printed something like this. Email. There has to be a gap, then there has to be a text field. Okay. Then second text I have created. It will be printed something like this. Okay. Whatever I type there, that will be coming as the label. Next, this particular email has to be followed with, let me draw something like this. Okay, it has to be followed with something like this. Okay, after email there has to be a text field. Okay, and that text field I'm creating over here. This is a text field for the email. Similarly, I have to have a text field for password that I'm creating over here. But I cannot call the second one as text field because if I type in inside this, the characters will appear as it is. In password, the characters should not appear as it is. That's why I named that as a special field called as password field. Any doubt up to this now? Any doubt up to this now? Let me know, please. Soon my class will be ending. Please join back. Any doubt up to this? I believe there are no doubts. Yeah. So shall we end this class and join back after 2 minutes?